Okay. So today's session is how to make AI your agent your new intern. So firstly, thank you for having me. And for the folks in New Zealand, it's Friday night, about 7:05, and I would say I'm sure you're enjoying your weekend here. Okay, a little bit about myself. Okay, we'll do a quick few introductions here about myself and about what the session's about. Job descriptions taken from Copilot, of course. 4 intern functions that basically an intern will actually do. I'll do a quick disclaimer and I'll do wrap-up thoughts on the whole thing as well. Quick in-flight debriefing. All of this will be on my blog. If you got any questions, Luke, if you got any questions, interrupt me. I like to make my sessions conversational. If you've got any questions, feel free to hit me up on that QR code in the top right-hand corner on actual LinkedIn. So introductions, Luke, I know you're in New Zealand. Just remind me, what is your role and who do you work for, by the way? In terms of the audience, I'm assuming, Luke, you're the only person I can speak to. Everyone else is on mute. Is that correct?
Yeah. So we're streaming across YouTube, Twitch, a whole bunch of mediums. So yeah, people will comment on the chat. Yep. So because Global Azure is an event happening across the globe, we've got audience mainly for these sessions around Australia, New Zealand, Singapore. So the APAC region primarily, but yeah, I'm a Microsoft Azure MVP, and we'll just sort of monitor the chat throughout.
Okay, very, very cool. Okay, so out of interest, in terms of agents, where are you seeing that as replacing tasks and roles in the organizations that you're working with?
Yeah, it's mainly around like task based. Mm-hmm. So instead of we're going to replace an entire role with an agent, it's more around customers and organizations are starting to ask more around what tasks can we look at doing, and then that gets compounded up. But a lot of organizations, and I'm sure this is true across the globe as well, is the questions are around data governance, like how is the data enough to be able to use to build on for these agents? Mm-hmm. Others are, let's just give me the shininess and let's just give the agents all the access. So we've got customers that are at a broad scale of these things.
Well, okay. Yeah. So one of the things is, it's like, I'm going to talk about replacing internship, and that's like AI, like if you look at, particularly in America, Oracle knocked out 30,000 jobs. And that's like I said, everyone was blaming AI. But the reality is a lot of AI is a headline use case for like, oh yeah, we're resizing, we're downsizing. Okay. That is really what's going on. It's not AI. It's basically companies are repositioning themselves and restructuring themselves. And also investment often swings from capital investment to labor investment. And that's what's going on. But for the stock market and the shareholders, if you have the headline, AI is replacing these workers, it's all a good thing, which in reality, that's actually not the case. Okay, very quickly about myself. I'm the founder, former CTO, now CEO, depending on what day of the week it is, okay, for a company called Soho Dragon. I've co-authored 4 SharePoint books, written Leadership in the Zoom Economy with Microsoft Teams, which was an Amazon bestseller. Organizer for days in New York. I have a podcast, I have a meetup. Okay, and my first version of SharePoint was 2003. Luke, what was your first version of SharePoint you were working on?
Oh, probably not that one. It would have been 2007, maybe, if that was the version, but it comes to mind. Yeah, it's something I usually would put in like a bin in the back of my mind, never to remember again. But
oh my God! So you remember deploying like WSPs into the GAC, and then the central admin disappears for 5 minutes, basically.
Yeah, and it required a lot of compute to run these back in the day as well.
Right. Yeah. Okay. That's all right. Okay. So I always like say that some people beat me with like 2001 and stuff like that. Hobbies, yoga, vegetarian cooking, and chess on that. Alrighty. Okay. So this presentation will be on my LinkedIn. So if you've got any questions on that, take it from there. And I just want to say, like, here, it's your weekend, and thank you for taking your time to watch this presentation. I want to be as educational, as entertaining as actually possible. A disclaimer, I am not talking about Visual Studio Vibe. I am not going to do a step-by-step code walkthrough. You can get that off YouTube or LinkedIn Learning. Okay, so for intern job functions, okay, that you can actually replace with AI. Job posting, invoicing, newsletter, and summary of documents. Luke, how long have you been in the workforce for?
Over 15 years, give or take. Yeah.
Were you like an intern, or did you do like a graduate sort of like role when you first graduated?
I was apprentice, so I come from a system admin background. So fixing people's home computers and small medium businesses. So as part of like working in the local high school after hours, I would go in and do like volunteer work at the local computer repair shop. So that's where I came in.
All right, very, very cool. So basically, was that working for like an MSP or something?
No, it was just a small mum and dad's shop. But yeah, MSP later in my career. Yeah.
All right, very, okay, very, very cool. All right, so quick, what I wanted to say for this presentation, any slide you see with a green dot is something you want to focus on, because it's a good power tip for this presentation. So let's just talk about job posting, okay? I'm going to basically talk about write-ups, posting, screening, and interviewing, which you can all now do in AI. All right, okay. So let's just talk about like if you're going to hire an intern, okay, you would write up this job script or job rec, and Copilot can do all that, obviously. So you can actually do all that, okay? Okay. So firstly, instead of getting your intern to write this up or your HR, you can. It's quicker if you use Copilot yourself to do this. Next point as well is that you obviously, if you want to get a good job, get a good candidates for jobs, you can then post this on LinkedIn, okay? And then basically, if you're going to post this on LinkedIn, these are the hashtags. Copilot will basically will write to you the hashtags that you actually need to actually basically boost this job spec across the LinkedIn network as well. Okay, so basically, let's just summarize this. Copilot has written up the job spec. It's also told you how to hashtag this, and then all you need to do is basically post this across actually LinkedIn. So that's your first job, okay, or the first task. So well, now let's talk about invoicing, okay. Now, obviously, like when an intern joins a company, they're kind of like doing like the low-level stuff, okay. And one of them is basically writing up job specs. Maybe HR is doing that, but they'll be posting this. And then I've just told you how Copilot can do this. But let's look at invoicing. They might be doing admin stuff with invoicing. We're basically reviewing invoicing and seeing how well it works, approving this, okay, comparing this to what was the PO numbers, etc., etc. Okay, so let me show you how AI Copilot can actually do this. So here we got centralized email box, and I actually recorded this. So let me just see how well this is working. Okay, centralized email box, and let me just go back a second. Hang on a second. Right, hang on one second. Okay, so basically here I'm showing you how Copilot can actually scan the invoices and process the invoices. And I'll show you how the agent can actually do this. So here we have a shared email box, which is what you have there. And basically all of your vendors email their invoices in. and I'll just get that sorted out. Okay, the video should be starting right now.
This reminds me of the latest episode of For All Mankind going through.
Live, yeah, as you can see, well, this is recorded, okay? So this is your shared email box. All your vendors are emailing their invoices in, okay? Goes into a library, a SharePoint list. Okay, so you notice there's meta tag data here. It's reading this. This is your invoice. Bill to, ship to. This is your standard invoice. You know, nothing too wild and exciting here. Okay, so you notice with the invoice, you've got the vendor name. It's already picked up the amount and the escalation. So it's already extracted this. Okay, if you actually open up the item, you can see all of the metadata is already tagged there. So it's actually extracted this. And Copilot can do this. Okay, so then let's look at the Power Automate the flow here. Okay, this is the email, shared email box. The current time, initiation. Let's look at the prompt. Okay, so you notice I've written this in English. There's no hard coding here or anything like this. This is all basically logic in English. I.e., this is what I want to do. I could put this in a Word document and give this to my BA and he can code this out, or I put it in Copilot and it does it automatically.
I like the control prompt there. Do not include any punctuation, explanation, quotes, or additional text to avoid just going, just give me exactly what I want, nothing else.
Yeah. Okay, and that's great. Thank you for bringing that up, because that's basically that edge case to say, this is all I care about. I don't care about anything else on this. Okay, now, so you've sort of seen the process now. I've not gone into the details, partly because we haven't got like 3 hours here. This is all on the Microsoft website about invoice processing and processing the rebuild AI model. This is all there on the Microsoft website, and it's all part of Azure. No fancy code whatsoever, and it's all actually out of the box. Okay, now let's talk about a newsletter, okay? So typically with a newsletter, you sort of get the intern to basically write up the content and then blast this out. But wait a minute here, what would it be like if Copilot can do the prompt using a bit of Claude? Now, Luke, this presentation was actually written about 3 months ago, where it was all kind of like Copilot and a bit of Claude. Now, I know things are moving quite quickly, and like at Soho Dragon, Claude is a bit flavor of the month. Are you finding that a little bit there in Australia?
Yeah. I think it's a battle for the latest and greatest features between like Copilot CLI, Copilot Claude. But I think a lot of people I talk to actually use all of them. So it's pick and choose which one has the best capabilities.
I think it's a little bit of a flavor of the month. Like at the moment, Claude, here we are, it's April 2026, and Claude is flavor of the month. 2 months ago, it was like ChatGPT. 6 months ago, it was ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Okay, and of course, like Copilot is hovering around there. So there's almost like sprints going on. And basically, who's going to get ahead of everyone else, and who's got the best PR machine? So here we are. We're going to talk about newsletters, okay, and how it's used with a purpose in terms of competitors and a job website. So basically, this is now an agent. all Copilot, and this is agent here. So what this agent does, it generates a newsletter on this. So you can see I've given it the instructions. They're all English style. Okay, now it's searching our Soho Dragon website, okay, and it's going to be looking for case studies, okay, because it can be choosing a newsletter based on the case studies on this website. This could be any website. It could be a competitor website. It could be the New York Times or Sydney Journal. I don't know. What is the national newspaper in Australia?
New Zealand Herald, I think, would be the. Oh, in New Zealand would be
New Zealand. Yeah. Does Murdoch actually own newspapers in New Zealand or not?
I honestly have no idea. But
okay. Okay, so Murdoch owns the Wall Street Journal actually here in New York. Okay. So basically, you can see I've gone to the Soho Dragon website. I'm looking at case studies. Look at the prompt I'm doing to test this. Create a newsletter based on case studies on a website, which happens to be our company, Soho Dragon, and it's given me the formats. Okay, the reference, and these are the references.
I like this workflow primarily because, for example, your website could be sourced by marketing. So you would have a marketing arm that's doing all the case studies, but then you might have another team potentially doing the newsletter. So instead of sending emails back and forth and sharing things, it's grabbing it straight from the source of truth.
Yeah. So if you're writing when you think a newsletter for customers, okay, this could be for your sales team. Okay. Okay. Also, even internally as well, it's not uncommon that most internal employees for government agencies or big companies, they have no clue about what their company's doing or promoting out on newsletter or on PR wires as well. So by just doing this, you can basically have a schedule agent which create an internal newsletter about what the company's doing. So here I'm testing the agent and it's coming up with the output. Again, I can hire an intern or a marketing agency to do this or somebody. And this is a good example of Copilot doing this. And I can get this up, scale, and get it going scheduling every month. And this is all in the Copilot Studio Microsoft environment.
Which also means that if your knowledge sources were internal, it would be adhering to Purview and all of that capability as well.
Exactly. Or your SharePoint site. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Okay. But you can see you have a newsletter here. You can go to your competitor websites, okay, to see what new models they're doing. You could even just basically do this to see what your competitor PR engine is doing as well. And then have that basically, that instead of it being a general newsletter, having a targeted newsletter to your marketing team, to your product team, or to your sales team as well. Okay, on that. So that's your newsletter idea. So let's now look at summary of documents. Okay, it's not uncommon that somebody basically is in a company and they join a project. And it's almost a bit like, okay, I'm joining the project and it's 6 months. the project's been going on for 6 months and there's about like 50 or 60 documents going on. So therefore, the challenge you've got is about onboarding this. And this is a particularly challenge for a consulting company because you have somebody who's left the project and then, you have, this is our new project manager. And the client is saying, well, wait a minute here. I do not want to spend 2 weeks training up, paying for your project manager to figure out all the tribal knowledge of this project. Well, hang on a minute. You actually don't need to do this because basically, if you can have Copilot to summarize all these documents, that will allow this new resource to come into the project and basically observe what's going on and get that tribal knowledge about what's going on and really figure out basically how to actually basically add value to the actual project as well. So that's a great way of onboarding new employees to a project but also new employees to the project. And I'm not necessarily talking about the employee manual, but quite often you get a new employee to a project, a new employee to the organization, and there's an element, well, okay, what's going on? Okay, or what initiative and what projects they're going on. You can forward them like 30 or 40 documents, and they can then summarize all this information with Copilot, and within an hour, they've got a pretty good understanding about what's actually going on. Okay, and this is also goes into the sense of like the term of like a digital wheel. Okay, now when I talk about a digital wheel, okay, a digital wheel is about replacing something that already existed, but you're making it better. So, Luke, can you give me an example of the best of one of the first digital wheels in our human, in human history? And you can go back hundreds of years here.
Oh God. Ooh.
On the spot here, I might just add, but yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Electricity comes to mind. It might sound a bit weird, but yeah. I mean, it's not about the generation of electricity, but it's the way that electricity is transferred, like across massive global regions. So and not quite right, but that's the first thing that comes to my mind. So.
Well, I would agree on that. Now, like people say, like AI is just like is going to have one of the biggest impacts in human society than we've ever had. And I would probably say electricity probably is something very similar. The literature is another thing is very similar, and also the printing press as well. Okay, but the idea with the whole thing about the digital wheel is that making things better than it was before. Okay, and the wheel was a good example. Before you had the wheel, you had rollers. You would put sort of like some building block on a roller to build a pyramid in Egypt, and it would go on rollers. But then you had a wheel, and suddenly people could actually travel on this as well. And that's the idea of making things bigger and better. Okay, Luke, quick question for you. What TV show is this picture from?
Silicon Valley.
Very cool. Good man. All right, okay. Good example is the BlackBerry, okay? The BlackBerry, everyone had email, okay? And BlackBerry, the idea was that suddenly you can do emails everywhere. With a keyboard, okay, and that's what's known as building a better mousetrap, okay, and that's exactly what it is. Okay, you have an existing situation, a technology or process, and you're making it better, okay. So this is where there's a little bit of a disclaimer going on with making things better. So one of my side, even though I work for a technology company, okay, I'm always a bit skeptical when you get these McKinsey consultants coming in, okay, and they'll probably go to like a hotel. And this is what's known as the doorman fallacy. Okay, they'll go to a hotel chain and they'll say, "Wait a minute here, you don't need a hotel doorman because the doorman's going to cost you $40,000, $50,000. You can do that with a bit of AI, facial recognition, and door opening." And so, well, wait a minute here. Okay, you implement that, and of course the CFO loves this. Okay, because as far as the CFO is concerned, technology is only compatible on the spreadsheet. But wait a minute here. After 2 years, the occupancy rates are down, are very down. When I'm in New York and I'm staying at the Four Seasons, okay, which is a very expensive hotel, I actually want a doorman because it provides status. Okay. Likewise, if I'm in a date night with my wife, okay, I do not want to go to a restaurant where they give me some kind of like device and it buzzes after 5 minutes to tell me my food's ready. I want sort of like some kind of a human to come over. Okay, so the doorman in a hotel, okay, does not just open the door. He provides status for the organization. He welcomes people. He tells people about local restaurants. He carries the luggage, which is particularly heavy. Okay, he orders a taxi. So you've got to understand the role, okay, and it's not just the job description. And that's a key thing with an intern, okay. The intern is not doing a whole bunch of tasks. There's a whole bunch of proliferate activity and association which is associated with that intern. Okay, and like
just a note as well, we've only got like 2 minutes left, so
okay, very quickly. Okay, the intern actually makes the coffee. Okay, the intern makes the coffee. So let's sort of wrap up for thoughts as well. Okay, the value of face-to-face communications is super important, and that cannot be replaced with technology. So the Royal Mail spent hundreds of thousands of dollars basically figuring out how to improve their service. Okay, and they couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. Because where the service was very, very good, the perception was low. Where the service was not good, the perception was good. It turned out that basically your perception of your Royal Mail basically related to your relationship with your postman, your mailman, but put the parcel behind the door when you're on vacation to wish you a happy birthday. It had nothing to do with technology, and that is a human issue. That is a human element. Same as call centers. I'm absolutely fanatical about call centers. Okay, but I'm actually terrified about AI. People talking about AI effectively automating everything. You've got to remember when somebody calls a call center, they can't figure it out on their own. Okay, and they can't figure it out on Google. And so this is the perfect opportunity to actually basically create a relationship with your customer and have a meaningful relationship with your customer to figure out what's going on with your actual product. Okay, and if like United, I was actually at a Microsoft conference, and basically some guy he was a product manager for Microsoft products. And what he said was basically he put the call center in the same location as the developers, so the developer could get present to everything they're doing right and everything they're doing wrong. Like I live in New York City, and I'm telling you right now, if I was a shareholder aboard United Airlines, I would put the call center right next to the boardroom, so the boardroom can actually witness what the customers who are generating their value are actually saying. And actually working with them. So let's just talk about this. Okay, so this is a good example of customer service. Can you hear this, Luke?
Chris Hearn goes to the Ritz with his wife.
Yes. We're running out of time, so we'll just finish
The boy leaves his teddy behind in the hotel by accident. The boy can't sleep without the teddy. Oh my God, the father's onto the hotel. Please tell me that you found the teddy. Yes, sir, we found the teddy. He was all wrapped up in the linen of the room. We'll get it posted back to you. We'll mail it back. Don't worry. Stay patiently. Wait for Joshy the giraffe to be mailed back. And a few days later, it arrives. The envelope. He takes them out. And out of the envelope, not only comes Joshy the giraffe, but comes loads of Polaroid pictures of what Joshy the giraffe got up to on his extended vacation in the Ritz. Here's Joshy at the pool. Here's Joshy having a spa treatment. Joshy even got a job as a loss prevention officer. He has an ID badge. There he is at work. Someone took the time to have an experience, to go beyond, above, surprise and delight, to build a relationship. Where will Chris Hearn take his family on the next vacation? I can guarantee you it will be a Ritz-Carlton hotel.
So let's just jump through some of this stuff, okay? Because I know we're out of time. Basically, that video says AI can get rid of some of the low-level tasks of an intern, okay? But you've got to remember, okay, you have to create relationships with your customers. If you don't, you are creating a commodity business. If you create a commodity business, it's a race to the bottom. So that's where AI is fantastic on things. But if you can actually basically use your intern to basically create a value add and engage with your customer and your employees, you're going to get a better business model, okay? And this is kind of finally, everyone says AI is going to be replacing jobs. That's not true. If you think of the movie Blade Runner, the intern is programming the robots. That's really what's going to be going on in the future. So let me just jump through a few slides, and that's about it.
Yeah, thanks, Peter, very much for coming and presenting to us today. Definitely some food for thought. Yep.
All right.
So just to finish, how can people get in touch with you?
I will basically, you can get touch with me on LinkedIn, which I will, that's it. You scan my QR code there, or just go to my blog, www.peterward on LinkedIn, and you'll get
awesome. Cool.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Luke, thank you very much, and thank you for having me as a guest and hosting.
No worries.
All right. Thank you.